Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Representing the men and women on sporting fields across the globe, and especially in Port Adelaide and deep South Australia, two blokes leading the charge that it's okay to be a little bit crap as long as you try hard. It's now time for another Best Team Men podcast.
Well, we're back. The Best Team Men are back. Footy is almost back. NRL is back tonight. And a lot of other live sports are almost back. And Jared Walsh is back.
I'm back. It's been
Welcome
2
back.
weeks.
It has been 2 weeks. We apologise for that too.
We need to have a look in the mirror at ourselves. We're looking at each other via Zoom at the moment, which I think soon enough we'll be back in a studio, which is great.
I think so, yeah.
It's almost this time last year, we're like, we're going to do this on a weekly basis, and then it kind of
And we haven't
away.
been far off. We haven't been far off.
No, we've been pretty good. But now we are back, and we need to be back on a weekly basis because I love doing this. And again, I notice that everybody's got a podcast, Matty.
Hey, this is the elephant in the room. We had a great session with Garby. We had a really great session with him. And now he's just gone and launched, and he's taking over the world with his podcast.
Garby,
we've been around for a year and a
global.
bit. We've been around for a year and a bit, and we've had two guests. We've had Andy Martin from Ozcast Network. Great fella.
Forced guest. Yeah.
Forced, yeah. That's right.
He gives us the studio.
And we had Garby, right?
Yes.
And then Garby's gone, stuff you blokes. I'm going to go start my own podcast, and I'm going to have Shane Gill, and I'm going to have Mille Jedinak, and I'm going to have this unbelievable sports personality. You blokes go and get stuffed. I'm going to leave you in my wake, and I'm going to be the number 7 sports podcast in Australia in its first week.
And we had Andy Martin, who once was that hungover at the Royal Adelaide show. He introduced Dr. Harry Cooper as Dr. Barry Hooper.
Come on, Andy. Oh, far out.
I was thinking about that Royal show the other day because you know Ron Moss from The Bold and the Beautiful?
Yeah, really good-looking bloke. Good set of hair.
Yes. He was part of the band that sang, "Baby, come back." That's actually him singing it, right?
Is that right?
That's Ron Moss. So I interviewed him. I think it was back in 2005 or something. And I was at the Royal Adelaide show. Basically, when the show was on and you got the Yellow Brick Road show bag, there's a starting point where you go get your show bag and then you go to all these little stations and you get the shit that you need, right?
That was the only free one, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So I was hosting that room. We were interviewing guests like Channel 10 personalities and all that. So funnily enough, this one day, Ron Moss was there and I got to interview him. Lovely guy. I also interviewed Stingray from Neighbours, which was a highlight. But the weird thing about that day was I was just about to speak to Jane Riley, who is a media queen. She was like, I think Miss Australia or Miss South Australia or something back. So I'm just about to do that. However, I've just had a look on the Channel 10 News backstage. There was a little stage and it said we have some breaking news out of the Great Barrier Reef, the sad news that Steve Irwin has passed away. And I'm like, I've got to tell these people this. So I've got on stage and I'm like, normally this is a bit of a fun environment, ladies and gentlemen. You got your free show bags. This is brilliant. Enjoy the Yellow Brick Road. Beforehand, got to break some sad news. Just as I was about to say, we've just received confirmation. You can see it on the TV screens here that Steve Irwin has tragically been killed. Jane Riley didn't hear that. So she was standing behind me, pulling faces and waving and dancing around while I was saying, Steve Irwin has passed away. It was,
Did Jane actually win Miss Australia, or has she done a bit of a More Ahmat and just self-proclaimed?
I'm not sure. We'll have to check where she falls into that Robbie category, but she's
Jane
she's
Riley,
lovely.
Wikipedia.
It was a strange moment. I've gone sidetracked, but you're right. Garby is part of the Ozcast network, so we need to be semi-respectful. But mate,
he's a great man, and when I saw it, I thought that's a really great concept and good on him.
Good on you, Garby. But mate, I tell you what, we're talking about Charlie Conway and these fictional characters. You're talking to Shane the Hammock Heel.
Yeah.
You're getting on the former captain of the fucking Socceroos.
Yeah.
Garby, how about you share a bit, brother?
Come on, mate.
What did you do, mate?
Just
You
a little bit of
fucking
love.
Phil wife on next, mate. Jesus. Okay, now I need to chill out because this is what the other elephant in the room, which isn't me, because I haven't done any exercise for about 2 weeks, and I need to do something about that. You are angry at the moment. I've noticed on your social media, you are getting very frustrated with a lot of things going on at the moment, and I think we need to talk about it.
Okay, I'm listening. I don't think. You're going to have to bring up specifics. I do get frustrated.
Let me bring
at a
up
lot
some
of things,
specifics.
Yeah,
let me bring up your Twitter feed.
Hit me with some specifics.
Let me get up your Twitter feed. And for the people who want to follow you, it is at Fresh Till Death AU.
I'm an underrated tweeter, in my opinion.
Totally agree. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
I also think that you are fatigued. And as your tweet rightly suggests, games can't come quick enough. This is also pathetic. So then before that, seriously craving some footy. So sick of all this manufactured shit the journos are coming up with. Keep it going. We're still going.
Is that not fair? Is that not a fair call, though?
You did refer to Donald Trump as something which I won't say on the podcast. Look, those are the other ones I've noticed because it's important we discuss this because we have spoken about our journo battles before.
Yeah.
And,
well, let me put the this is getting pathetic one in context. Okay, so that was
please do.
That was Mark Robinson. No, so hang on. It started with our mate Kane. Okay, Kane. I can't remember exactly what he said. That's how much it.
His surname is Cornes.
Cornes. Yes, yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So he made a point about the AFLW, and then Mark Robinson chimed in and brought Chad into it, Cornes, and then Chad chimed in, and it just seemed very high school. Like it was just unnecessary garbage, in my opinion. And
Daniel Garbage.
Yeah. So yeah, it just pathetic. They just brought unnecessary points to the table, and it sort of went hand in hand with my previous tweet in that it's just becoming a joke now. Like people are searching for shit to talk about, and we need games of footy because it's just, people are running out of ideas and they're making themselves look stupid.
I want to give you some context, and you know how I overthink this stuff. Yep. You know I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm a media nerd, so I try and read into absolutely everything. Here is my kind of CSI on that whole Kane Cornes issue. A week prior to that article being written, Robbo went on radio and he said, we didn't talk about the Alex Jezelenko Kane Cornes thing. I think it was that story because we're giving him too much oxygen. He's so negative all the time and he says all this stuff. So we stayed away from it because you know what? It's too much. I think that as much as Kane has said it's point scoring from Robbo, I reckon Kane having a crack back on Footy Classified is him going, wait a sec, you can't have a crack at me without giving me a right to reply unless I have a crack at you back. So it's like a bit of a... Yeah, exactly. Where does it end? And it's not going to end, mate, because that's how the media cycle works. Like
and now Chad's involved and
Chad, and you know, Chad couldn't give a shit, mate. Like it's hilarious about that stuff. And the other one is that what happened on Footy Classified when they were discussing what happened with Jack Stephen and Sam McClure's come out and tweeted saying, you know what, if I was aware of somebody's mental health, I'm not going to go. Oh, let me read the tweet out for you because did you watch Footy Classified in the whole debate?
I saw the clip. I saw him and Eddie going toe to toe with each other.
They were talking about ethics in journalism and Eddie saying, look, you should have asked the question any journalist. I think that's the first time I burped on the podcast. I mean, we've sworn a lot.
We've never burped.
Anyway, he goes, I'm a sports journalist. If a guy who had been open about his mental health battle, who nearly lost his life in a violent incident, doesn't want to talk about it, I'm going to respect that. If you disagree with that, Eddie, don't bother sacking me. I'll resign.
Yeah.
Great. I'm completely supportive of that, but be prepared to back it up because people have thrown examples at him that David King said, hey, the family or the Fremantle Football Club said, don't name the player who tested positive for coronavirus. And Sam's response was, it's part of the story. He should be named.
That's right.
So where do you draw the line between actually diving into a story or not. You can't be all high and mighty if you're inconsistent about it. So you're right. And your big tweet saying you just want footy to come back because we're just getting so boring just reading into everything what everybody says.
It's all manufactured. And I've got another Kane Cornes story, actually, and I'm a bit filthy with him. I hope he hears this, actually. I was driving
He probably
along.
won't because
he won't.
About 6.
No,
we've got a few listeners.
I'm going to tag him in it. I'm going to tag him.
Okay.
Not that he'll probably see the tag, but anyway.
He probably blocked you.
Driving, no, he's not Tom Brown. I was driving along, listening to SEN last Friday. Avid listener, love it. He's talking about, the new rule changes that they were talking about bringing in, the shorter quarters, the more on the bench, and the going to 16 players. Everyone was ringing in, having their opinion. It was great. Very healthy debate. He wasn't in favour of it, and neither was I. So I was actually on his side. And I was driving and I was thinking, and I came up with a very, very valid good point as to why they shouldn't do the rule changes. Anyway, rang up SEN. The producer answers the phone.
Oh, yeah.
The producer answers the phone. Where are you from? It's Matt from Adelaide. Okay, cool. Puts me on hold.
Wait
anyway.
Now stop. Just stop for a second. Just stop for a second.
Okay.
This is a cardinal sin when it comes to radio. Because we sometimes have people call up 588 and we're like, Jeremy's called in from Australia. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, what suburb are you in? You're not Matt from Adelaide. Actually say what suburb you're in.
No. But he was broadcasting to Melbourne at the time. So I rang up the Melbourne number.
I retract everything I just said.
Yeah, so I rang SEN Melbourne. Sorry, I probably should have put that at the start. Because he was filling in.
No, it just sounded weird. Matt from Adelaide.
Matt from Adelaide,
great.
Yeah.
Jared, also from Adelaide.
But what if you lived in the city? You're actually Matt from Adelaide.
But you don't.
No, I don't.
So keep on going.
So I rang up and the producer's answered. He's got my details and he's stuck me on hold. And in radio, when you're on hold, you can hear, it's basically like listening to the radio. You can hear what the callers are saying before you and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, he finishes and he goes, we'll get to Ben, Matt, Tom and Stephen after the break. Anyway, break comes in. Kane comes back. Starts going through all these people, and I'm not there. He doesn't get to me. Anyway, the producer gets on the phone. He goes, we're going to get to the news, and then you'll be first up after the news. All right, cool. I'm G'd up. I'm ready to go. Meredith.
Did they call you back, or did you call
No,
them?
I was on phone. I was on hold the whole time. It was about 15 minutes. Anyway.
Ran out of credit.
Yeah, I know. Should have rung them between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. I would have got it.
And hung up every 20 minutes.
Anyway, the news comes back from the news, and I'm like, all right, I'm first here. I'm first. He goes to someone else. I'm like, oh, mate, why is the producer lying to me? What are you doing? Anyway, finally calls to me, and I relay my point absolutely perfectly. By this stage, I've said it in my head. I've gone through it about 45 times about what I'm going to say. And I go through my point, and Kane goes, yep, it's a bit over the top, isn't it? Jared from Melbourne gave me muffins. After 15 minutes on hold, me thinking I had a point that could probably get me a job in the sports media, they thought I was that smart, he gave me nothing.
Yeah, but maybe he shut it down because it was such a good idea. He didn't want you to become the star of the show.
But everyone else that was doing good calls got prizes. I didn't get anything.
Okay, so that's the issue.
I didn't get anything. I wanted
what prize?
Like tool vouchers and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I wanted something.
Matt from Adelaide wins a Bunnings voucher from Roval in Victoria. So you're going to get in your car, drive to SEN, pick up the Bunnings voucher, go to Roval, and then drive back to Adelaide.
I would have taken
about an hour and a half out of the city.
I would have taken anything other than the 5 words that he told me. But I was disappointed. Yeah. Give me something, Kane. Tell me how good my point was.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. See, I can go back and get that audio for you.
Thank you. Please do. Can you? I need this justified.
Yeah, definitely. If you send me the exact time that this happened, I will get it, Matt from Adelaide. We will certainly... I can do that today, Matt from Adelaide. And I think it's important that we address it.
Yep.
We listen to it together.
Yep.
Oh, I've got to send you a wine as well. I haven't done that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
Well, maybe I'll just bring it in when I can instead of posting it to you.
Yeah.
Mate, the wine's going off. The wine's actually going off. So...
Wait, as in going off, as in it's going berserk, people are buying it, or it's going off sitting there in due date wise?
No, it's not going off like that. I'm getting some real More Ahmat requests for wine. So we sent it over to Ollie Gill, who used to work at Nova. Actually, he does this what's it called? It's called Two Sharp Reds podcast with Mark Schwarzer for Optus, and so we sent them over a bottle of First Drop, and they loved it, right? So also who's the German bloke who played for Brisbane Roar? I reckon he was the best. Thomas Broich.
Yep.
Loves the wine. Anyway, I got a message. Josh Shackey is keen to have it.
Oh, they should be the last one looking at drinking wine, I would have thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on, man. I wouldn't have said that. I mean, that's just a bit inappropriate.
You were thinking it, though.
Okay, so footy's coming back, which is brilliant. I was thinking it as well.
Yeah.
I'm still of the mindset that I love the fact that we just had a nice bit of clean time. I watched the Bundesliga highlights where they showed the crowd noise. I liked it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What about, I can't remember which club it was, but the ones that cut out the faces and stuck them in the stands? Did you see that?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think the soccer one was quite good because if you watch it, it doesn't feel like there's no fans there, which is awesome. That's what you want. Footy's going to be a bit different, especially on the radio. People are ready for footy to come back, but it's June next week at the moment. And it sounds insensitive saying it because of the effect that it has on people's jobs and stuff. Remove that from it. I'd rather go, let's just start again next year.
Yeah. I get both points of it. I really do. I think what would happen financially to the AFL if they don't get any footy in? Like, what would that mean for them as an organisation and a business? I think the ramifications of no footy far outweigh the no crowds.
Totally agree with you. And I'm being like, everybody's looked at their own kind of self-interest with everything that's happened in 2020. But I'm just thinking like, it was so hard to watch. I can't get out of my head how hard it was I remember exactly where I was when I flicked it onto Richmond Carlton on that Thursday night. I was at Semaphore Road IGA just going, I wonder how this sounds. I'm like, oh, that's how it sounds. But as you said, if we get some games and stuff, it's going to be a challenge for everybody. I just hope that crowds come back at some stage. I saw some sports are announcing that crowds might not be there till next year. So it's, who knows? Who knows? It's getting better, I guess.
I'll tell you one thing that's been popping up a fair bit is the whole state versus state Vic bias type thing. I don't know if you saw the comments by the Eagles. Sorry, not the Eagles, the Western Australian Premier or not. Mark McGowan.
Oh, that's Dylan McGowan's brother.
Old Dill. Is it really? No, okay. But I don't know. Did you see what he said about how...
Was he talking about how the double standards and how basically Victoria runs the AFL?
Well, it was that, but he was also saying how the AFL would never have considered sending players and hubs and stuff like that to WA.
Yeah.
But the borders aren't open. How can they do that?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's also happened. I saw the Prime Minister was saying, I'm encouraging all the premiers to open up the borders. Like, this Vic bias thing, right? There's 10 teams in Victoria. So you kind of have to also look out for them. I understand that. I don't have a South Australian chip on my shoulder. When I first moved to Adelaide in 99, I had a Victorian chip on my shoulder. Like, I was like, oh, fuck you, South Australians and stuff. But I've grown to love Adelaide because I've lived here most of my life now. But the whole thing about Victorians against South Australians, it doesn't exist. Like, no, for people who believe it's a manufactured thing to try and create some rivalry. If you look at the Port and Crows lists, half of them, if not more, are Victorians who play for them.
Yeah. It's the thing that kills me with it, and it frustrates me, and I say it all the time, is Richmond play 11 games at the MCG.
Yeah.
Or whatever. No, like more than that. But not all of them are home games. So
exactly,
the MCG is a neutral ground. They don't train there. They play other teams there that share that ground. So yes, they play 16 games a year there. But they also play Collingwood there. They play Essendon there. They play Carlton there, who also share that as their home ground. All these people complaining about the bias draw and this and that, none of them ever throw up a positive solution to it. No one has...
Potentially the smartest thing you've said.
No, everyone's so quick to judge it and complain, but they're not putting together ideas that are going to fix it because there are none.
Collingwood train at Gosh's Paddock, Melbourne train at Gosh's Paddock, St Kilda train wherever they do,
Richmond
Essendon
train
at Whitney Hill,
Punt
Road. You know, remember when Crows and Port would have, I think, 2 sessions a week on Amy Stadium, and they have one session a week now, I think, on Adelaide Oval. Like
Geelong,
there's no such thing as that home ground advantage. Geelong is an interesting one because I think they would I think they do train down there.
They do,
but they have a heap of games down there to the back end of this season as well. When you think about it, if Port and the Crows and all these teams are going to be training on Metricon, they have home ground advantage to the teams they're going to be playing against.
Absolutely. And you hear like people up in arms saying, oh, Richmond and Collingwood and Essendon, they don't go down to Tasmania and they don't play in Darwin. Well, absolutely, that's right, because the teams that they would be playing down there as an away side would rather play them at the MCG to gain from taking the door ticket money. It's as simple as that. So it's so frustrating. It's uneducated, but it's always going to be there.
I thought of something to that we can bring up because we've been on a lot of road trips to watch footy games, you and I.
Yeah.
So I thought that we could maybe each round bring up a road trip story or a footy game memory because you've been to a shitload. I've worked at a lot of footy games, but they've got some good memories. So I want to give you a little one to start off with, and then I'll let you have a think about it for next round. If you want.
I've got one. Yep.
So I'll give you one of the funniest ones that I know. I went to Cardinia Park to watch the Crows play Geelong. And this was when Greg Anderson was playing for the Crows. So this is, mate, in the 90s. I was living in Tasmania at the time. So we'd normally go over to Ballarat, where my grandparents lived, and we'd catch a train to Melbourne to go to the MCG, like I've been to a couple of grand finals, or we'd go to watch the footy, or we'd go down to Geelong. This game, it was so cold. Like, I lived in Tasmania and that was cold. This was absolutely freezing. The only memory I have that from that game, and I wouldn't have been over 12 years old, was my uncle pouring rum into my can of Coke that I had. He's like, mate, this will warm you up.
At 12.
It was like pissing down with rain. You know, you're in Geelong, you're at the footy, and AFL was a novelty for a Tasmanian because you never saw it. Like, we'd have the TFL. When you think about the TFL was quite a big league at the time. You know, had players like David Rees-Jones was there, Phil Carman, a lot of these older kind of players. But
who'd you support there? Bernie Doggers?
No. So I went for the North Launceston Bombers.
North Lonnie, okay.
North Lonnie. And Tassie at the time, you used to think it was a really big drive going from Hobart to Launceston for a game. It's only about 2.5 hours, but because the TFL used to be, you'd have Hobart play Launceston or Devonport and stuff. So I like North Launceston. That's what I think David Rees-Jones played for North Launceston then.
Right.
And back then I had an affiliation with Essendon, so I liked them. So the Hobart Tigers were the closest team to me, and I played for the Kingston Tigers for that 1 year where I got the participation award at Rosny McDonald's, and it was the best. So there's lots of footy stories that I can tell you, which is great. Some good, some weird. How I almost got into an argument with Gary Ayres at a press conference once, but that's irrelevant. So what's your story?
Well, mine's a recent one. So I went over. My best mate lives in Perth, and he's a mad Collingwood supporter as well. So I think it was around 18 or 19 last year. Collingwood actually played a Friday night game against the Eagles. My wife and I decided to fly over for it, and he managed to get us this corporate package thing where we had access to this special bar before, during, and after the game. And we've gone to the game, and look, it was a great game. It was half time, and I think West Coast were 3 goals up at that stage, and we tipped a few back by then. Free drinks and all that sort of stuff. So we were starting to tick along quite nicely. And he was like, nah, we're going to win. We're going to win. I can feel it. And I was a bit more pessimistic. And I said, nah, I don't think we will. I said, if we win, and this will click to you when I say this. I said, if we win, I'll get my nose pierced. We won by a point.
Yeah, you did.
And I went and got my nose pierced. So
at least it looks good.
I'm a man of my word. I didn't back down from it.
Yeah. Have you still got that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he paid for it as well. So yeah, that's one story. But it's funny because when you do go on the road, you tend to make more memories, I think. So I don't mind this. There's definitely a few more to tell. So
I think so. I've got a ripper one how I almost got arrested that I can tell you next week as well. Just let's finish this up I want to know your thoughts on where we're at with the restrictions easing a bit. So with sports emceeing, it's just whatever, it's going to happen when it happens. But for you going back into clubs, I mean, it's obviously going to bring back some of our heydays DJing to 10 people. But you're like, I got this. I got this.
I've been here before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So what does this mean for you?
Not a lot at the moment. I feel like clubs are going to be the last thing to open. They go against everything that the government's trying to put in place. You know, it's complete lack of social distancing. It's completely non-essential. It's a luxury that people have. It's not a need.
Yeah.
Pubs, you can get away with it because you can serve food and you can dissect your areas and stuff like that. Whereas a nightclub, you really need a full room. So I feel like for these next phases of the reopenings, anything less than allowing 100 into your venue is just not viable at all. So when that will be, who knows? It's changing every day. I mean, there was 3 announcements within 5 days last week, and they'd all brought dates forward. So the date I've heard for clubs at around about 100 capacities, July 3rd. So that could change, though. That could come forward, or if, we have someone random come in from overseas in Victoria again, then it might be pushed back. So, I'm not banking on anything in June, that's for sure.
Well, we're keeping a close eye on it because we are going to get this sorted our night. And definitely. I reckon between now and next episode, we are going to go out and do our crossbar-y things, okay?
Yes, we'll have some video.
So training should be back at Port Pirates now.
They were allowed to go back. Yep, they were allowed to go.
I'll get in touch with them over the next couple of days, and we will go out and we will do some stuff.
Absolutely.
And it'll be a bit of fun. And definitely. I'll get my nose pierced. Obviously, I'm joking because that would look shit. Nah, it looks great. Great to be back.
Awesome to be back.
We are going to do this weekly. We know we will. It's just weird. Everybody has a podcast. There's only so many times that you can interview Ricky Nixon. Like, really?
Chicken, toot toot. Hey, I've got some homework for us. This will put a bit of a... I could be wrong here, but neither of us are massive NRL fans, are we?
No.
Being that it's the first round back, let's watch a few games this week.
Okay.
And we'll do a bit of a recap of the weekend's action on the NRL.
Oh, yeah, because I'm going to jump on KO and get that now because I've been Foxtel.
Have you?
So, yeah.
KO gives you everything you need.
KO. And you can watch KO through your Apple TV, I think.
You can. Yep, absolutely.
This isn't an ad for KO, by the way. But,
no, it's not. But if they do hear it, can I please have some off my subscription? Cheers.
Yeah, this is an ad for Daniel Garb's sports podcast. Make sure you listen to it. What's it called?
Greats with Garby. Garby with Greats.
Greats with Garby. I mean, we weren't on there. And
no, not yet anyway.
At the start of every podcast, he should thank us for giving him the platform.
We've put him on the map.
To not only talk about the Mighty Ducks, but far out, mate. Throw us someone to speak to. You've got Yedinak. You've got Shane Hill.
Someone. Who would you take? Who's the absolute minimum that you would take?
The absolute minimum that I would take would be Jason Williams, who sat on the bench for the Adelaide 36ers when they won back in the early 2000s.
Let's get him on. Let's track him down and let's get him on.
No, I know what he does, mate, because he works. He's a postie now. He used to deliver water for Neverfail. Now he drives around. He's a postie.
That's a story and a half.
Don't ask me how I know that.
No,
I will leave it.
You live next door or something.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.